Imagine you're sitting in first class on a long-haul flight. The lights are dim, the engine's humming softly. A few rows ahead of you sits Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex, one of the most famous women in the world. But something isn't right. Her young son Archie starts to cry. At first it's just a whimper, but it quickly grows into a desperate, heartbreaking wail that cuts through the cabin. Inevitably, all eyes turn to the mother, but Meghan doesn't react. She doesn't move, she doesn't even look up, she just stares straight ahead, as if the child crying her name is a stranger. The flight attendants exchange shocked glances, whispering behind their hands. A nanny rushes over to soothe the boy, but the mother remains cold, distant, as if behind an invisible wall. But then, suddenly, the scene changes. Prince Harry walks forward from another part of the plane. The moment he enters her line of sight, a transformation occurs that leaves the crew stunned. Meghan's face lights up, a warm, loving smile appearing from nowhere. She turns to Archie, her voice suddenly filled with concern and tenderness. She becomes the most charming, caring mother you can imagine. The switch has been flipped. The show has begun. What on earth just happened?
This story is more than just the latest celebrity rumor. It goes much deeper, because it shakes the very foundation of what Meghan Markle wants to show the world. She has built her entire public brand on the pillars of compassion, empathy, and a deep, almost spiritual connection to motherhood. In interviews, she speaks with tears in her eyes about how the birth of her children opened her heart and made her a better person. She is the champion of emotional honesty, the woman who dared to show her vulnerable side and is admired by millions for it. But the reports from flight attendants who saw her in private, unguarded moments paint a radically different picture. A picture so at odds with her public persona that it's disturbing. It raises a fundamental question. Who is the real Meghan Markle? The empathetic humanitarian we see on magazine covers, or the cold, distant woman who ignores her own crying child until the cameras, or in this case, her husband, appear? This discrepancy is the core of this story, a mystery that forces us to question everything we thought we knew about her.
Meghan Markle is one of the most fascinating and polarizing figures of our time. To some, she is a modern hero, a courageous woman who broke free from the shackles of an outdated monarchy to forge her own path and fight for what she believes in. She is the embodiment of the American dream, mixed with royal glamour. To others, she is a calculating, manipulative master of self-promotion who used the royal family for her own ends and left a trail of destruction in her wake. She is like a Rorschach test for our society. People see in her what they want to see. An icon or an intriguer. Before she was a duchess, she was a successful actress on the popular show Suits. She was ambitious, articulate, and knew how to navigate the spotlight. Then came the fairy tale wedding, which overnight made her one of the most famous members of the British royal family. But the fairy tale soon began to crack. There followed the dramatic exit from the monarchy, the move to California, and the building of a new life as a global brand. In this new life, her role as a mother to Archie and Lilibet has become a central part of her public image. She is the loving, protective mother who would do anything to shield her children from the dangers of the public eye, an image she carefully cultivates.
But it was precisely this image that developed deep cracks on a British Airways flight to South Africa. It was an official tour. The couple was under enormous scrutiny. On board the plane, according to multiple sources from the crew, the scene unfolded that is still whispered about among flight attendants as a kind of legend. Archie, then just a baby, became restless. As babies do on long flights, he began to cry. The nanny was there immediately, but babies often want only one thing, their mother. But Meghan, according to consistent reports, showed no reaction at all. It wasn't that she tried briefly and then gave up in frustration. She allegedly ignored him completely. She neither sought eye contact nor made a comforting gesture. A crew member later described it as shocking and unnatural. It was as if someone had placed a glass wall between her and her child. The atmosphere in the cabin was said to be extremely tense. The flight attendants felt helpless, torn between respecting the privacy of such a prominent person and the human instinct to comfort a crying child. The nanny and other crew members eventually took care of the boy, while Meghan remained emotionally absent. This incident alone would be unsettling enough, but it wasn't an isolated event.
Word of the incident on the South Africa flight spread like wildfire through the tight-knit world of airline crews. Soon, stories from other flights on different airlines began to surface, painting a consistent and troubling picture. Long before she was a duchess, Meghan was reportedly known as a difficult passenger.
Multiple flight attendants, speaking anonymously for fear of reprisal, described her as demanding, entitled, and often shockingly rude. There were tales of her insisting on last-minute, unmerited upgrades, complaining about the brand of bottled water, and treating service staff as if they were invisible. A pattern emerged. Meghan's alleged behavior on flights had been problematic for years, but the most stunning revelation was the Harry effect. Crew members consistently reported that her entire demeanor would change dramatically the moment Prince Harry was present. Without him, she was described as cold, distant, and dismissive. With him by her side, she transformed. She became warm, polite, and gracious, smiling and engaging with everyone around her. It was, as one attendant put it, like watching an actress flip a switch. She was performing the role of the charming, down-to-earth passenger, and the performance only began when there was an important audience member, her husband.
The deeper question here isn't just about whether Meghan Markle is a demanding flyer. It's about authenticity. How can we reconcile the woman who tearfully told Oprah Winfrey that motherhood had profoundly changed her with the woman who, according to witnesses, completely ignored her own distressed child? This isn't just a contradiction. It's a chasm between her public declarations of empathy and her alleged private actions. The unsettling truth that emerges from these accounts is that Meghan might be performing empathy rather than genuinely feeling it. The emotional disconnect is not just troubling. It's heartbreaking, especially for a child who, in that moment on the plane, appeared more like a prop in a carefully managed image than a son in need of his mother. It challenges the very core of her brand and forces us to wonder how much of what we see is real.
Just as these stories began to circulate more widely, a new suspicious twist emerged. A TikTok video suddenly surfaced from an American Airlines flight attendant who lavished praise on Meghan. She described the Duchess as sweet, gracious, and beautiful, and even showed a handwritten thank you note Meghan had allegedly given her. The video went viral, but airline insiders immediately cried foul. They pointed out that such a video brazenly violated strict confidentiality rules that would normally get an employee fired on the spot. The timing was also incredibly convenient, appearing just as negative stories about her flight behavior were gaining traction. Was this a genuine moment of appreciation from a starstruck attendant? Or was it a brilliantly executed piece of damage control, a counter-narrative planted by a savvy PR team to muddy the waters and discredit the other stories? The incident only added another layer of doubt. As the controversy grew, the narrative expanded beyond the confines of an airplane cabin. Former palace insiders and royal experts began to speak up, suggesting that the behavior described by airline crews was eerily familiar. Stories emerged of a similar pattern behind palace walls. Staff claimed that Meghan's kindness and warmth were often reserved exclusively for public appearances or when influential people were present. Behind the scenes, they alleged, she could be demanding, distant, and at times ruthlessly dismissive. These revelations painted a broader picture, suggesting her airline behavior wasn't an isolated anomaly, but part of a deeper, more consistent pattern of conduct. The compassionate humanitarian seemed to be a role she played, not a state of being. What's undeniable is the powerful tension between Meghan Markle's public image and the private actions described by a growing number of people. The carefully curated, empathetic Duchess stands in stark contrast to the accounts of her cold, dismissive treatment of staff, and, most disturbingly, even her own child. Behind the polished facade appears to lie a troubling reality, one that airline crew members, palace insiders, and even former Hollywood colleagues have quietly discussed for years. But what happens next? Will more insiders break their silence, defying NDAs and confidentiality clauses to reveal the truth? Or will Meghan's formidable PR machine continue to successfully manage her public image, burying inconvenient stories under a wave of carefully timed charity announcements and positive press? One thing is clear: authenticity matters. And when the public begins to feel that they are watching an act, no amount of charm, tears, or damage control can fully repair the trust that has been broken. This story is far from over.